You know, one of my favorite things to do is go to the Sunday brunch buffet. Just look at that spread. So many awesome choices. You got your omelet bar, you got your breakfast items. Come on. You can't sit there and tell me you don't want to pick up that entire tray over there on the right. You got your pastries. And you know, the beauty of brunch is that in its very definition, it's breakfast and lunch. So go ahead, grab some cold cuts, make a sandwich, get some of that pasta too. You know, being an indie artist is a lot like hosting a Sunday brunch buffet. Most artists offer you more than just one item. You can't help it when you find what I would call the bacon of the brunch. You have to go back for seconds. So this episode, we're going to salute indies who are giving us some of the best Sunday brunch buffets out there. So what do you say? Let's eat, shall we? Because, you know, it's always time to go indie now. Well, if you haven't guessed it by now, this episode is all about reinventing yourself as an artist or taking advantage of the fact that you're not just a writer, you're not just a singer, you're not just a filmmaker, you're not just an actor, you're many, many hats and many, many things, because artistry is one of those rare things that's very contagious and spreads amongst all of us. And we all like to dabble in a little bit of this or a little bit of that. I don't know many artists that are singularly focused. I mean, there are some, and there's nothing wrong with that, but we all tend to want to do this or that because creative juices are creative juices, and they come from all different angles, and they tend to keep you more alive by expanding your horizons and doing more things and being a part of more things. So in this episode, we're going to be featuring artists who are doing just that, expanding themselves and putting themselves out there more than just one medium. And we have a slew of great guests, including Mr. J.D. Estrada, who is a writer and a musician and a poet. Anais Chartschenko, who is doing music right now, but she also is a writer and a poet. And she just put out a CD, for a couple CDs actually, that of her music for the first time, and she's letting that side of her out, and it's really awesome. And then we have Tia Tormen and CK Stone, who are a couple who are doing writing, taking on a writing project that's been in the making for a very long time that they've decided to finish. But both of them dabble in much, much more than that. CK is a great actor, and Tia does film editing and photography. So enjoy all those interviews. We're just going to keep rapid firing going. So that's my intro to everybody. So we're going to try something new for this episode.
I was invited to write in a blog in 2005. They were like, "Oh, you're witty, you write well. Come over to our blog." And from 2005 to 2014, I wrote anonymously on a blog. That turned into me starting to write the book, losing a notebook with like the first 3 chapters of Only Human. Actually left that in a plane. So if you see any book whose first 3 chapters are similar to mine, let me know, because I'm gonna go where they're at. But that first book was, I'm not going to say it was a war of attrition, but it was showing that I was committed to finish a book. Took me 7 years took me 5.5 years to finish it. Took me an entire year to transcribe and edit because I write by longhand. And people say, "Why didn't you transcribe anything before?" And the answer is really simple, because I'm stupid and I didn't know. So transcribing and editing took like a full year. And then the whole, okay, so how do I put my book out? And just trial and error and discovering it on my own. And I submitted, I think it was 4 query letters until I said, you know what? Because I researched places that I said, oh, I'd like my book there. I read like the different agent profiles, and I said, this is the person that I want. They represent books that are like the ones in my vein. I think we can click. And I didn't even get a no. I got a nothing. I didn't get a response. But yeah, definitely writing came first, and music. I picked up the guitar when I was 17, so that was pretty late. And I took 2 guitar classes, and I was like, yeah, I'm not good with classes. So basically, if anyone likes whatever I've played or sung, realize that that's self-taught. And I know I'm not a virtuoso, but you know, I can carry a tune at least. And then it gets muddled because there's an influence between one thing and the other, especially in poetry. Sometimes I hear the melody of a song and that's how I write. And in music, sometimes I see the poetry. And there's a song, I think the song that I've written that I like the most is called Braille. Because if I publish the lyrics, it's a poem. And with the music, I think it's a good song. Frosted thoughts of written letters like sugar pulled from the rain. Window breaks past the horizon. Hear it roll like golden lights of paper, glass or stone. Maybe we just need to drink alone. Maybe we don't feel the fear of the Braille. What is your favorite word? In Spanish, aurora. That's why I mentioned it. And in English, I think maelstrom is pretty high up there. And I think because it's not really English, I think it's Dutch or but it's a word that every time I read, I go like, yeah, because I immediately think of Poe. And it's just, it's one of those words that has some ancient Celtic power. You know, if there was a spell that you just had to say maelstrom, you would believe it. What is a word that you find yourself using more than you'd like to in your writing? Just. I just have to say, that's my like. A lot of people when they're talking, they like say the word like so many times that it's like frustrating. For me, when I'm writing, I actually had to do a search for the word just, and I found it used in Only Human. I think it was upwards of 70 times, and I got really pissed off at myself because that's like saying, okay, my book is 164,000 words long, but really it's 163 plus the word just. And here's the thing. You can have trademark words all you like, and that's never going to be an issue. But when you abuse of a word, you take power away from it. In terms of spotting those words, it's good to spot it when you're editing, not when you're writing. Because when you're writing, you might I'm using that word again. Just write. Just write. Just let it go. So how do you approach, you self-proclaim yourself as somebody who enjoys doing research, and I would imagine that is probably because of the job that you do. So, I mean, how do you approach the research process? Is it during, before, or after you're writing? Before and during. Rarely do I add something really big after I've written it. But before, for Only Human, it was, I have these Word documents, and I dump everything in there. And I print it out. And then I take a page and I cross out everything I don't need. So sometimes you have an entire page that only has one phrase or two phrases that hasn't been crossed out. The same for Shadow of a Human. The same is going to be for book 3 of the Human Cycle. That's that project. For others, I love to read random stuff. And sometimes I always recommend people to read random stuff and nonfiction and science and different things, because great ideas come from information, raw information. There are topics that I'm obsessed with and approaches to seeing things that are very unique to me. And
what do you think is the biggest misstep that authors have when they're marketing themselves and their work?
You're trying to appeal to the market. I know a lot of people who have a lot of talent, who adjust what they do because they're not selling. And I get that. And obviously I get that frustration. Being an indie author, it's not like my sales are through the roof. I can say that I'm being read in really weird places. Obviously, I'm being read in the US. Obviously, I'm being read in Canada. Obviously, I'm being read in the UK and Puerto Rico. I come from Puerto Rico, and these 3 places do speak English. Australia, there are a couple of people that are reading there, and New Zealand as well. Fine. There's a person from Germany who always posts pictures when they're reading my book on vacation. First off, that is the highest compliment, to know that someone took my book with them on vacation and that I'm part of the R&R. Wow. Like rest, relaxation, and reading, and you're taking my book. My book is, thanks to that person, my book has traveled thousands of miles. That's cool. I'm being read in Pakistan by 3 people. And it's not like I'm bothered by it. I'm fascinated by it, and it's people who, and you see their Goodreads, and you go like, wow, these people read a lot, and they chose my book out of hundreds. This winding answer is to say one thing. I was able to achieve this by being myself, and as me as I can be. I don't do anything to appeal to the market or what sells. People have told me, oh, you have vampires in your book. That's good. That's selling like hotcakes. And I go like, I've done really well in the Puerto Rico Comic Con. And the first year, I didn't make a killing, but I did a pretty good showing for someone that has not been advertised anywhere. I'd been published 2 months. And I think I sold 18 books, and I sold from the poetry collection. I sold a couple of, I made my money back for the most part, but without any advertising, without any favors, without any ass kissing. I was just me. Second year, I did better. Third year, I did better. Hopefully, this 4th year will see me getting better. But it's always doing things under my rules and in my style, and rather than do something that would appeal to someone, I always write for me, and I always create for me, and I do a bunch of stuff online, but it's always something that resonates with me. I do visual typos on Instagram and other places, and that's just to have fun. I do the Dictionary, and it's the same. Post sock pictures just to be goofy and silly, and it's getting a bit out of control because people are like, dude, you didn't post your sock pic. And I'm like, I got work, sorry, I'll post it now. But it shows that I don't do it. I don't do anything because it's what sells. It's because I'm having fun. And I want fun with other people. And I also don't, this is really important. I don't which is also a problem. I don't over communicate what I have to offer. Meaning do you know a good book that I could read? I'm never going to say, oh, you should read my book.
Yeah.
Because I think that's a dick move. And it's really disingenuous. And it's not me. I'm always going to mention other things and other people's work and stuff that I'm reading that I'm really loving. I don't know. If you're single and someone says, oh, you know someone I could go out with? How about me?
Yeah.
It's the same thing. And I see a lot of people that over-promote themselves. And although they might get the sales, to me, it does leave a funky taste in my mouth.
Mm-hmm.
I go like, you're just in it for the sales.
Mm-hmm.
And I love sales. Trust me. When I see that I got sales, I'm a happy bunny. But that's not my driver. Obviously, I would want to make a living out of this. Obviously, I want to be able to dedicate myself exclusively to writing. But more than that, I just want to be true to the stories that I have in my head.
What has booktubing given you?
It's given me a lot of things. Given me exposure to a lot of people, but it takes a lot of effort. I'm not exactly a super heartthrob, so I'm not going to get people subscribing to me because, oh God, he's so hot. BookTube is great training for public speaking because I want less ums and more substance. And because it does invite you to think of things creatively.
I ask you, do you think this is a valuable and viable commodity for an author?
Depends. Everything that you do as an author, it can have value, but you have to get it out of it. It's like a school. Some people bash public schools in Puerto Rico. Here's the thing. If you're an applied student, even if you're in a crappy school, you can use all the resources that you have and make something out of yourself. And actually, if it's a crappy school, it's a lot easier to stand out. I do think it gives you good exposure. I think it gives you good training for public speaking, and it lets people get to know you.
So what does it mean to you to be indie?
It means that sometimes you see that a book was written by X or Y person, but that X or Y person has 3 editors, they had a publishing house, they have people, thinking about money, making decisions. And what you get is a book from that collaboration. Being indie, you are reading my story. It's got no edits, it's got no bullshit. I did not do any decision for the sake of a sale. Everything I did was to tell a story and to tell my story and to tell my story the most me way that I can so that even if anyone tries to write something like me, they will always come short. If you're afraid of accountability and if you're afraid of critique, it's not something I recommend. Mm-hmm. A lot of people, I want to be a writer. It's like, no, you want to be famous for writing, but you don't want to be a writer. You're indie, you are a writer. You're a writer, you're an editor, you do your marketing, you do everything. And it's a very true process. It's not an easy one. People say, how do you do what you do? And even I don't know, because sometimes I can go 2 days without producing anything, and then in half an hour I do so much stuff.
Can I come home with good news for once? Can I roam along without blues to announce? A joy scavenger fiddling among the scraps, a lost wanderer in search of a different map. I rescue seconds from to-do lists, but lose hours to rush requests. There is no order in command, only a command, an order, and occasional reprimands. Task by task and job by job, a lack of sense in dialogue. Petition here, project there. Nothing important as if there ever were. Like a spider, I reach into the web, in search of life or some sunlight, or some other welcome contact instead. But report, alas, gets lost within a glass of a spirit that cleanses, of a liquid that steals, the memory of a lost day in hope to pay bills. That was News by Mr. J.D. Estrada, and that poem appears in the Between the Tides poetry book. That's out now. He's got a bunch of stuff out. You definitely need to go check out all the books, which are listed in the YouTube description below. And also, all of his links are there as well, including his YouTube channel, which he's very active on. He does a lot of great videos there. He does some book reviews. He does booktuber tags. He does all his music he posts there that he performs. Anything that he's just jamming on, stream of consciousness. It's a really awesome channel. I definitely recommend checking that out. And, finding him on social media as well, because he's very active there as well. And he loves talking with his fans. All right, we're just going to keep this momentum train going, and we'll be right back.
Hey everyone, my name is Clara, also known as Lady Audio. And I would like to say that when it comes time to choose music for your film, don't use the same music that everyone else does. Choose an indie musician for your indie film. And for today's show, I will recommend 5 artists. All of these professional indie musicians can easily be found on Bandcamp. The first one is Maheekats, and I'm associated with that project. We create dream goth music that is good for scenes where someone is driving, scenes where someone walks into a retail shop or a restaurant, or when someone is in their basement doing laundry with the headphones on, or a walk on a foggy beach. Those types of scenes is where Maheekats would fit in really well. The second artist is Scott Lawler. He is an ambient musician who composes dark and light ambient music, drone and cosmic space music. His music would be good for scenes where there's dialogue, or scenes where you're trying to create tension, scenes where someone is looking over a vista and enjoying the sunset. Anywhere where you need a soundscape, that would be Scott Lawler. The third suggestion I have is Lady C. She creates experimental electronic music. Her music would be great for scenes where something strange or magical is about to happen. A scene where you're trying to grab the audience's attention with some unique sounds. She also plays classical style piano as well, so you can have a nice blend of organic and electronic at the same time. The fourth mentionable artist is a band named 1,000 Hours, and they create dreamy, ethereal, indie shoegaze music. Their music would be great for wintry scenes, or a scene where someone is getting ready and you have some slow motion going on. Any of those types of scenes is where 1,000 Hours would work well. The fifth and final one I have for you is something you're probably really going to like if you're creating a film with a Western feel. His name is TK Bollinger, and he creates dark, moody music with a bluesy country feel. Some hashtags I've seen are doom blues or sadcore. It's the perfect music for those desert type scenes. So again, when it comes time to choose music for your film, for your scenes that you have going on, don't use the same music that everyone else does. Choose an indie musician for your indie film. All right, thanks. Bye.
And remember when she was getting started with the photography, and she would say, I like this one, but this shot, which was the same model in a very similar position, very similar posture, but I don't like this one as much. And I would say, okay, I know why. Now, I've been doing cartooning and illustration for a lot of years and read the books, and I wish I was more talented at it. But I said, it's the composition, it's the flow, it's the way that your eye is carried through the picture. And she went, oh, okay, got filed away, and it was used next time and the time after that, and in every shot she ever does.
Now you also do video editing, and in the video editing idea, did that help edit your book? Did that help you with your book editing?
No, I think they're too far removed from each other. So.
One's visual, one's not.
Well, for me, writing is visual. I see pictures in my head as I'm writing. So, but for editing, no, I think they're too different.
there are some basics that you could say, but they're the same in this sense, because you look for a rhythm. You look for a rhythm in the video as well, and pacing, whatever you want to call it, and you look for that in what you write too. But the way you achieve it are two very different things, because you're looking at cuts in a video. I don't do the video, but I'm an actor, and I know what makes for a good scene. One of the reasons that we write well together is because I'm also a visual writer. I see the picture and I describe it. But the way you do the pacing when you're writing is a very different thing. You're looking for a particular word, you're looking for a particular rhythm of the words, you're looking for long sentences to convey a languid sense, or very short choppy sentences to really speed up and develop the tension. And those are just, you know, very basic technical things. There's so much more involved in both, but at the very bottom of it, you can say, yeah, they're similar, but you have to achieve it through two totally different methods.
The reason I ask that is because I would think someone with a visual tendency, someone who does editing, who knows that the flow of the story depends on cutting, not on adding. I would assume that had to be a helpful thing, that you knew what your story was in your book, so you knew where you were going to cut.
Yes, because if it doesn't, one of the first rules as a writer writing a novel is you ask yourself, does this further the plot? And if it doesn't, why is it in there? And sometimes you need little things in there that don't further the plot but help develop the character. But you know, if you have a whole chapter that is not helping to develop the character, it's not furthering the plot, it's doing nothing but taking up space, then it needs to go. And that's how we managed to cut 2 entire chapters.
It was painful.
It was painful. I didn't want to cut them either. One of them is absolutely beautiful. I would love to put that one back in. But the character was already developed. We already knew these things about her. We already knew what she could and couldn't do. And it did not further the plot or advance it. And it just needed to go.
How did this process begin for you guys? What gave you the notion to write a book together?
You tell the story.
I know who was going to ask that question.
I do too. It's one we're always asked.
About the year 2005, we were part of a writing and critique group called Write or Die. The second iteration of that group is going on.
It's still
now.
going on,
right? Yes. And one of the original
founder members
of the group decided that she wanted to write a book in the style of Penelope Ash.
And if you've ever heard of Penelope Ash, she wrote a book called Naked Came the Stranger. However, Penelope Ash was not one person. Penelope Ash was 15 people. And what had happened was a bunch of writers got together, were at a party on Long Island, and said, Harold Robbins, Jacqueline Suzanne, all of these people are making money writing these trashy books with gratuitous sex scenes in it, and they're making money hand over fist. We could do that. And that's what they did. The original concept was to write a book, science fiction fantasy, with the gratuitous sex scenes.
But it had to have sex in every scene or in every chapter, and every member of the group had to write a chapter. So what started out as just a bunch of people writing chapters turned into a great storyline, started turning into, a mess. People couldn't show up for meetings, people didn't want to show up, people didn't want to rewrite their chapters, this is good the way it is. They started going off book, off the synopsis and saying, well, we could do this, but that's not what was plotted out. So it kind of died. And the book sat in limbo for about 8 years, about 8 years.
That long?
Yeah,
wow.
Maybe only 6, but 6 to 8 years it sat in limbo. And one day I was going through my files and I went, ooh, this could be fun. I wasn't writing a whole lot at that point, and he wasn't either. And I said,
a short story here and there.
Yeah, why don't we grab this thing and finish it? So we put out the call to the original writers and nobody answered. Nobody wanted to do it. The ones that did answer said, no, I'm done. So we went, okay. So
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
So we picked up one other writer, and she ultimately decided she didn't want to have her name on it either. So we just
Expunged.
everything that everybody had written.
And redid almost from scratch, almost from the very first
except for the
word.
main plot line.
Yeah, main plot line.
Think,
and the stuff that we had actually written.
Right, because we had helped plot that part out. So
the thing is, we still stuck to the original concept with the idea that of having sex in it. The problem with this is that the sex, while graphic, is not gratuitous. It is an intrinsic part of the plot. The process of the discovery and the accruing of information and the resolution of the conflict can't happen without the stuff that happens between the main character and other ones.
People probably always ask you what the challenges are in a collaboration. I don't want to know that. I want to know what the benefits are. What benefited you guys from collaborating on this?
Our favorite benefit. We get to feed off of each other all the time. We're always right here. I mean, he'll come up with an idea and I'll say, no, you can't do that. And then he'll go, well, yes. And then we'll go on a car ride or something. And next thing, we're exchanging ideas and coming up with new ways to do things and things that the other one hadn't thought of. So I think the benefit in a collaboration is having a fresh point of view to look at that maybe you hadn't thought of.
And the ability to immediately tweak.
Yeah.
But if you say, well, we could do it this, well, she mentions car rides. That was one of our biggest things. We would be riding home from a meeting and she would say, we need to do this to Mickey. And I would go, we can't do that.
Oh,
it
yes,
just doesn't fit. It's not appropriate for the character.
So.
It doesn't
Yes,
feed from the backstory. All sorts
what
of
are you
no,
talking about?
it just absolutely won't work.
Let me show you how to make it work.
And then we would sit for about 5-10 minutes in absolute silence. And I would go, okay, here's the motivation.
You mentioned that this all began around 2005. You also mentioned that specific time period on your website as the time period in which you started dabbling with photography. What was it about that year that you decided that this was going to change for everything? What happened that created that?
I don't think there was any one thing. Well, I think it was the Ride or Die group.
Well,
right. I'd always.
I know what it was, because throughout her life, she had been told no by so many people. She found herself in a situation where there was support through the Ride or Die group. There was support in personal relationships, and a lot of people saying, if this is what you want to do, do it. And she enjoyed that freedom all of a sudden to be able to step out with a camera, to be able to step out with a word processor and do the things that she had always wanted to do. She's always had the talent, always had the ability. It just needed to be honed.
And I needed to be told that it was
it was okay.
And that it was worth.
Yeah, that it was worth the pursuit.
The pursuit, right? I just thought I was kind of.
What does photography give you that writing doesn't?
Oh, it's a whole different perspective. I mean, you're talking about like broccoli and oranges. So, not even apples and oranges.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like creating pretty things. So, poetry is probably one of my favorite sitting down on a rainy day things to do. And I consider the photography that I conceptualize, that I want to do, that I put a lot of effort into, it feels like poetry to me. So it depends, and I try to create that in an image so that it conveys something to the person who's looking at it, as it's not just a pretty girl standing there. So,
well, as a matter of fact, in the hard copy book itself, there are a set of illustrations. They look like illustrations. They're actually photographs that have been run through a computer program to make it look like an illustration.
What do you guys love about being indie?
I think the freedom from that, I hear a lot of people with traditional publishers are like, and I didn't even hear about this, and I didn't even hear about that, and they didn't contact me, and why isn't anybody giving me this information? Why do I not know this? When you're an indie publisher, you know exactly what is going on all the time. Granted, it's a lot of work setting it up so you know what's going on all the time, but at least you know where it stands, where it is, who has it, you know, what's being done with it, what your royalties look like, what your
or don't.
or don't. You know, do you have a fan base? Yeah, I mean, all of these things that you're just completely in control of it all the time. And I'm not a control freak, shut up, but I do like knowing certain things. So
I would assume you're very happy though that there was an indie route you could take for most of what you've been doing.
yes, absolutely.
And I don't, you know, you started this process in 2005. Was it as wide open as it is now for you?
It was there and available, but nobody would believe me. I tried to tell people about Create Space back when they first started, and I went, "This is awesome," and everybody went, "Nobody's ever going to do that." And I said, "But this is awesome!" And so I actually wrote a comic book and stuck it out there. So it's a graphic novel comic book with photos. It's a photographic comic book novel.
Yes.
It's weird. It's very strange, and it has bondage in it. So,
and people who have read it have said, "This is really funny." Yes.
Yes.
Would anybody buy it? No,
No.
I don't know if anybody would buy this.
No.
His mind opened completely to her. Images from the most intimate quarters of his psyche washed over her. His favorite ice cream? Rocky Road. His dog's name? Wally. His fantasies? The two of them alone in their high school music room, and his confession to her of how he secretly always thought she was way hot. A memory. Ray's band blowing the roof off of a smoky low-rent nightclub in the Bronx. Thunderous applause from the awestruck crowd. A sensation? Hot, sweat-soaked guitar strings strumming between his fingers. Memory scraps and bits of personal history that defined who he was. One after the other, they raced through her mind, leaving an after image like the brilliance of fireworks against an inky night sky. Ray collapsed onto her. Spent and gasping for breath, Mickey lay panting beneath him, caressing his sweet slicked back with one hand, weaving the fingers of her other hand through his hair. Outside in the street, the sounds of car horns, beeping alarms sounded in odd harmonic accompaniment to the music that still emanated from the computer and the speakers. Savoring the post-orgasmic calm, she sifted through the flood of this information. Her insights came quickly and easily when she was aroused, blossoming into a complete bonding when she reached climax. And given how easily she picked up on and shared her lover's moods, that was often. Just about every time she made love, she went away physically satisfied and carrying a stunning trove of intimate insight into her partner's mind. There's a little taste of The Hidden Design, The Prophecy, by Tia Tormen and C.K. Stone. My many thanks to them for joining us for a little interview. Very interesting stuff that they do, and this is obviously a very, very hot and heavy book, and it's really cool. You guys need to go check it out. All right, everybody, we'll be right back.
I can think of a multi-talented, multitasking artist. He has produced his own paintings and had his own exhibitions. He's created a couple of albums, music albums. He's got them out there. And he's also part license a nightclub. I mean, the guy's even created his own furniture. And in between all of that, he's managed to produce some of the masterpieces of cinema of all time. I'm talking about David Lynch, and the film I want to recommend is Mulholland Drive. Is just an absolute masterpiece. I'm not even going to go into the plot. It centers around a girl who goes to Hollywood, tries to make it. That's pretty much it. It's a dream. It always runs by dream logic. This is the film. This is a kind of style that he kind of started off with Lost Highway. This kind of dream logic. And Mulholland Drive is a masterpiece of this. It's just a film. It's a film that you have to see. If someone had a gun to my head, I might even say that my favourite film of all time could be Mulholland Drive. It's a film for your soul. It's a film that will get inside your head. It's a film I've even dreamed about. I have dreamed about it. And it was just like this, except for the light. And actually you were here too. You were here, except you were stood right over there. And I'm scared, like I can't tell you. And then when I see how scared you are, I realize what it is. There's a man in back of this place. He's the one who's doing it. I can see his face. I can see him through the wall. I hope that I never, ever see that face outside of a dream.
Just as it seemed the Third Age was flourishing, and beautiful lands could be sought and seen in every direction, an unspeakable explosion came and tore the worlds apart. Upon the Fourth Age of her beginning, civilization started to right itself, but it still needed help. That's when it found the Rangers of Larian. But I can't stop staring. From his wrist to his forearm, these deep gouges, blood dried up. I fear Mr. Enfield is far beyond my grasp.
Have not had any piano lessons at all. Not even a little bit.
Wow.
My dad bought a piano in pieces at an auction when I was a little kid, and he brought it home, and I really wanted to play that thing really bad. And so all the keys were in boxes, and they're really long. Keys are really, really long wooden pieces, and then the numbers, each 1 through 88, were carved into the keys, and you have to fit them in order. So I did all of that. I did a lot of work, and then I'm sure that he must have helped me put the soundboard in, because that thing is heavy, and I was a kid, and I'm wimpy now, so I'm sure he's even more wimpy then. But yeah, so we got the put together, and then I just played every day for hours, incessantly, annoying everybody in my path for years. So yeah, I wanted piano lessons. I'm one of 8 kids, and that was not gonna happen. So if I wanted to play, I knew that I had to sit down and make it happen.
Did you feel like you had a feel for it right away, or did that take some time?
I guess that I had the immediate desire to do it. I saw it, and I wanted to make noise. But of course, you if anything in the world that you want to do, you're gonna suck. You're gonna suck a long time before you're any good. And I mean, I remember my siblings opening the door to the basement where the piano was, and going, "Shut up, you suck!" Because I'm sure it was so bad, so bad. I'm not gonna say that I was any good at all, because I'm sure that it was just horrible. Just think about any kid that picks up an instrument. It's just ear splitting for a long time. So I mean, I had the persistence. I had the persistence.
As far as the vocals go, did you have any training during that as well, or did you just naturally were able to sing?
I just knew that anybody that you work with for a long time, they're going to definitely influence the way that you sound. And so I wanted to, and I was a lot shyer too. I was super shy. It was really hard for me to talk to somebody or to sing in front of somebody or all of those things. So I kept meeting people, different people, and then I met this lady who you had to audition to work with her. So I knew that she wasn't going to lie to me, because I kind of felt like when people said I was good, they were lying.
Oh.
Because after years of you suck, you're like, yeah, I kind of, yeah, you're right. I get that. I auditioned for her, and she sat me down, and the first thing she did before the audition was give me tea. And then I was like, wow, this is something. I like this lady. She's nice. And she'd worked for a professional opera company as a leading lady. So she was very good at what she does, professional. And she taught at university level as well. So I trusted her judgment, which is huge. And so after I did my audition, she said, "Did you ever think about doing opera?" And I was like, "No." And then she offered me a discount because she said she wanted to work with me. And that was the magic word, discount, because I'm poor.
Nice.
I was really poor then. So yeah, so then I trained with her for close to 10 years.
Is there a technique or something you rely on to hold a note or hit that higher register?
Yeah, for sure. The first thing that I do is the vocal exercises before I sing, so that you warm your voice up and you don't hurt yourself. And then you have to have breath control, and that was something that can take a long time to achieve for opera. I spent a whole year learning how to breathe. And at first, to learn how to breathe, to do that, I had to lay on the floor because you pass out when you're learning how to do that. But basically, you have to fill your lower abs with air, and then you push down and then push up really fast and tuck your chin in, and then try to get the sound right here. And then it kind of spirals up. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff. You have to lift your soft palate. There's so many things to remember.
Did you ever think it was that technical though?
No, not in a million years. No, of course not. No. No, and if I would have been told all of the things that went into it when she was selling it to me, no. Kidding me? If she would have said, honey, you're going to be laying on your back trying to breathe for a year, passing out in my studio, I would have been, oh.
Besides putting tone and music behind lyrics, what are a couple key fundamental differences in writing a song as opposed to writing a poem?
For me, not much, because a lot of, especially when I started writing, a lot of the things that I wrote were songs. Like I thought that, okay, well, this is going to be song. I have notebook after notebook after notebook of them, which is why I have such a big poetry backlog, because I wrote so many lyrics. And I also like if it can sound lyrical when you read it.
Mm-hmm.
It has that kind of flow to it.
Mm-hmm.
And also the way lyrics don't have to have that classical approach.
Mm-hmm.
I like that too, because I don't really like the flowery Emily Dickinson poetry. I'm sure you know that. So I like the ability to just, I hear it in my head and then I put it out there, and then it either gets to be a poem or a song, and sometimes it's both. So
is the music inside of you when you're writing the poetry, or is it something that you put on after that?
Most of the time it happens all at once. Like the song Dissociate on the live CD, I just sat down and I played it and sang it, and that's how it was written. That was actually the first time that I'd ever even played that, so I had to go back and listen to the recording to learn it so I could play it again. I just made it up kind of on the spot. Which is a lot of times how it happens, is that it's just either that, or I might hear a phrase over and over and over until I pay attention to it.
What were the final thoughts behind finally putting your music out there? Why now? Why do you think you've taken this step?
That same lady, my voice teacher, she's become a really dear friend of mine now, and she just always pushes me and says, you should just do it. And I had a vision, especially for what I thought would be my first record, which would be, of course, going traditional, going to a studio, having a sound engineer make it perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And really, she's the kind of person who values live performance, and somebody who's able to go into a room and sit down and play their instrument, or just sing in front of people and do that, because it's kind of a lost art form now. Mm-hmm. With all of the auto-tune and smoothing. Like, you can go into the wave file and just smooth out all those areas that are wrong. Mm-hmm. And that's part of why all of the music sounds the same. So she's really against that, and so I decided, you know what, yeah, you're right. I can't compete with that because I don't have those resources, so I'm not going to try anymore. Yeah. I'm just going to do what I can do, and what I can do is this: I can be the person in the room playing the music. Here it is.
Was the album just a bunch of finished songs, or did you have a concept in mind in creating it right off the bat?
I had a lot of songs that were recorded, and so I wanted to do the live one. I wanted all to be kind of more recent because I feel like you can definitely tell when it's an older one, or especially the ones booked at different parts of my training, my vocal training. There's definite differences because before I did that, I tried to sing lower. I tried really hard because I really liked Fiona Apple's voice, for example, and I don't have Fiona Apple's voice. And it was very difficult to let that go. Goodbye. I've been writing fantasy lately, as you know, so have kind of that type of weird, mystical feeling to them.
From yourself to Tori Amos, we've spoken about Fiona Apple. You've mentioned Kate Bush and Regina Spektor as influences as well. What do you think it is about that type of music that you all play that really connects to people? Why do you think it connects so fully?
Probably because it is honest, and I think that there's a lot of people don't want to be honest because it's too vulnerable, and and there are real risks to it. It's not just BS. I don't agree that you should just automatically like tell people how you're feeling, because sometimes that doesn't work out so well. So you might need to have somewhere to go where you can explore those emotions in a safe place. So if you have a CD of music by a confessional singer songwriter and you go, oh my God, somebody else felt that way too, then it can make you feel like you're not alone in a safe place where you don't have anybody giving you any feedback directly. And then you can work through it to the point where when you do say something, it's not going to crush you if somebody does respond in a way that you don't want them to.
Tori Amos, especially, a little bit of Regina Spektor too. There's a lot of layering of subtext and subconscious thoughts and things of that nature. Is that something you think about in your poetry when you're writing, or is it just a natural thing that happens when you're trying to figure that out?
I think when I was younger, I definitely tried. I tried to hide things behind metaphor more because I didn't feel like it was okay for me to, just go out and say it. And so I definitely would intentionally hide things, or I'd have a certain note or a phrase on the piano that would mean something to me. But now I think that I don't have those qualms. It doesn't bother me as much if somebody takes something that I wrote and they don't like it. Or like an experience, it's not gonna crush me the same way it did when I was younger. So for me, I'm a lot more direct now, and any metaphor is, I'm not trying to hide. I'm not using it for hiding. I'm using it because I think it's pretty, or it sounds a way that I like. But it's not for hiding anymore.
Yes. Cool. What do you like about being indie?
That you don't have to ask anybody's permission.
Right.
And you don't have to worry about, like I just said, I don't have to hide about things. Part of that is you don't have to worry about your content in your lyrics. You don't have to be concerned in a song if you write about self-harm or about relationships that gone bad, or you just don't have to worry about any of that stuff. You don't have to worry if you use the F word. You don't have to worry because nobody's going to tell you no, because you are the gatekeeper.
Now you did spend some time conceptualizing a cover. Take us through your thought process on how you came up with the idea for that, and how you chose the shots you ultimately chose.
The cover is a screenshot from a YouTube video that I did that was a really cheeky video about outfits of the day. because a lot of it's a really big thing on YouTube.
Yeah.
Really wealthy people having their outfit of the day and showing all of their designer items, right? And showing off what they wore, and they look fabulous, and that's great. But I did a realistic version, which was like, here's my outfit that I wore, and I got this from Goodwill, and I got this from a garage sale. So I did this whole series like that, and I was like, well, this is my hair today. It's high humidity. What am I going to do? So I just took a screenshot of that where I was sitting on my piano, kind of showing off one of my. And it was real outfits. I wasn't lying about that. That was actually what I was wearing. But yeah, I just tried to pick something that showed off what I actually am holding a book.
Yeah.
And that's actually kind of, if you were in my living room hanging out with me, that's probably what you would see.
The ghost divides me, her hands clawing into the 4 chambers of heart and suckling. The ghost remembers whatever I choose to forget. She whispers cruelly the 4 seasons, a lingering, cool touch to my brow. I hate how I yearn to please. I hate how my habits dictate to be docile. And when inside the fires are rising, cool the pity with her breath, destroy my confidence with her neon avalanche. That is 4 Chambers by Anais Chartschenko, and that was from her poetry collection called Bright Needles, one of my all-time favorites. It is as dark can get, and yet still has what Anais is so amazing at, and that is the evoking of emotion through a calm, almost subtle demeanor. And you know, darkness tends to sometimes have this aggressive nature. It's very feminine and very divine the way that she does it, and it's so true of her music too. Her music is very much has that subtle beat, has that, it's so soft, and yet the lyrics and the things that she is saying have a crashing emotional vex to them that is just it's pretty stellar. I thank Anais for being a part of our show, and we'll be right back, everybody.
Hello everyone, my name is Jin OKUBO. Nice to see you all back, and welcome to my book reviews here on GoIndieNow. I am the author of Love. I am the author of the sequel to Love, which is Kaoru in Love's Shadow. A little bit of information ahead of schedule here. My fantasy trilogy, Memories, Brotherhood, and Cold Love, which is going to come out this year. I'm having a re-editing session with my editor, and we're going through, and because when Cold Love was done, we found a little issue with connectivity in the story. So I'm going back through it and editing it all together again so that my trilogy works well together and shines as it's supposed to be. That being said, there's going to be a huge release party as soon as the editing phase is done, so please keep your ears and eyes open for that. Thank you so much. Today's book is Palm Beach Nasty. By Tom Turner. Now, I first got into mysteries a while back with a very interesting gumshoe style detective novel, and I'm happy to see that the genre is thriving well, especially with Palm Beach Nasty. It's not a book that you're going to race through unless you really want to get through it. It's one of those books that you want to take with you on a lazy Sunday afternoon and just sit back and read. The characters are well developed. And the reason why I say lazy Sunday afternoon is because you're going to travel the world, It's not going to be like ABC, here's the killer, and you have this whole pushing, heart-pounding race to get him. It's more of like, here's the world, the characters are more developed, and you're gonna have the whole influence of being there. And I'm not saying that fast-paced thrillers are not developed. Some of them are greatly developed, and the characters are great and full and rich. But with Palm Beach Nasty, he takes that extra view of the world and wraps it in, folds it into the actual book itself, and it works out nicely, I think. I really enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It didn't keep me on the edge of my seat, enjoyable, but it did warrant a 4-star review of the book. And I'm gonna give this book a good 4-star review when I pass the waiting period with GoIndieNow. But this book is worth your read, and you should definitely, if you like mystery, if you like thriller, you should definitely pick this book up. Palm Beach Nasty. You're gonna enjoy it. If you like mysteries, if you like murder mysteries especially, you're gonna enjoy it thoroughly. I really recommend it. My name is Gino Kubo at GoIndieNow. Let me show you my shirt. GoIndieNow. There you go. A little bit on the extra news here. I'm trying to produce a film. It's called The Line. It's a murder thriller, and I could use your help. Please find us at Indiegogo, The Line short film, and the link will be down below. You guys have a good one.
Lastly, this episode, I wanted to talk about something significant that happened on April 2nd. The character known worldwide as the WWE pro wrestler The Undertaker said goodbye and wrestled his last match. Now, as me, Mark Callis, when he started better than 30 years ago, he never imagined that he would have such a wrestling career. I don't think anybody ever imagines a career like that. It's something that's unheard of in any art form. But he was yet the epitome of an artist redefining himself. And he never lost the voice, his voice. He would wrestle under several incarnations and different offshoots, but they would always be offshoots of the Dead Man or Undertaker character. It was never far away enough that he could never go back and not make it feel campy or forced. He always had that edge to him, and that's something he seemed to know very easily, or at least discover maybe halfway through the run, I don't know. But he knew when to freshen things up and when to pull back and create the nostalgia and give us the Undertaker that we all knew and loved. I mean, as artists, that's what we strive for. Having that innate sense of knowing our audience and staying in the forefront of being creative and enjoying it, right? I mean, whether we sing, film, or only put the pen to paper, that turnkey is called having a recognizable voice or a style. The truth about the independent spirit is that it is already your style. It is your voice. Now, Mark Callis will have to face the world one more time as The Undertaker when he's inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. But I bet on the day after, when he can reinvent himself again or go back to being Mark Callis, which I'm sure is something he's never lost, he might feel the same way he did some 30 years ago. How do I know he's just going to be staying creative? Well, simple really. You never stop once you've been creating. As evident by Mark's painting career. Yes, The Undertaker is a prominent painter. But he's not a painter as The Undertaker. No, he's a painter as Mark Callis. And believe it or not, he's very successful at it. So as with the artists we met tonight, it's hard to say that they just are poets or singers or photographers or they're fantasy writers or dark poets or they're wordsmiths, or, they're artists. And just like Mark Callis, who created a masterpiece in The Undertaker, it's not the Undertaker that's going to define Mark. That's just part of Mark's style. And be sure to stick around for our short film tonight, which is by Black Folio Studios and Barry Gilmore. It's called Control. And it has a very interesting and unique take on redefining yourself. So everybody enjoy that. And remember, it's always time to go indie now. We'll see you next time. All right, bye everybody.
Come on, get up. Come on, here, have some water.
Where am I?
Someplace safe. Here, drink up.
What happened? What's going on?
We're safe. That's enough for now.
What does that mean? I just need an hour. What? Don't ignore me. What do you mean by safe? Padded cell is safe. That doesn't make it a desirable place to be.
Calm down. You need some fluids. Here, drink something.
No, thanks. I think this calls for something a little stronger.
Oh, I don't feel so good.
Just relax. No, take your time getting up. You don't look good.
Let me look at her. Yeah, you know what the hell. I'm a chiropractor. You have any more experience in that? Let me look at her.
Yeah, let the drunken witch doctor take a look.
8 years of schooling to do what I do. How many years at the community college did it take you to get a mick job?
You smell like bourbon. Just sit down and have a drink.
Heard you the first time. Now you better start answering my questions. Where are we? What's going on? And who are you?
I said sit down.
Look, lady, last thing I remember, I was coming home from work. And now suddenly I wake up in a whatever the hell this is, and someone I don't even know is telling me what to do.
He's right, though. We don't even know each other. So, who are you?
I'm Annette. I'm a cop.
Bullshit.
Your name is Alex Watkins, age 31. You live at 655 Fairbanks Lane.
How do you know that?
It was in your wallet. What did you find?
A long hallway and a lot of locked doors.
What the hell?
Hey, can I get some more of that water? It's a little hot.
You don't look so good.
Speak for yourself.
Screw you.
So if you're a cop, you have to know what's going on, right? Some idea. You have to have some idea where we are.
Look, I woke up here same as you, okay? So maybe if you got your head out of your flask, you'd be able to help us figure it out. Okay, so just back down.
Look, one of these doors has got to lead us out of here, right? If we work together, we can get out. We just can't make any decisions. She's the one that's... What the hell? Help! Help! Earned the luck.
Hey, God. I think we need some help over here.
Dave.
She's not. Oh, God. Help! I'm not gonna make it out of this. I'm gonna die here.
Calm down. Just calm down.
Calm down? Calm down? Why are you so calm?
And what are we supposed to do? Panic? It's not going to help matters, okay? We don't all have the luxury of liquid superiority, okay? So just sit down, relax, drink some water, and sober up so you can start thinking clearly.
Wait a minute. Why aren't you sick?
How the hell am I supposed to know?
Oh, no. It's not right. This entire time, everyone's been getting sick, but you're still healthy.
You're healthy too.
I've been drinking the water,
I've been drinking water too.
but not the same water. Giving us different bottles. Take a drink of my water.
How do you feel about the chances on success? Oh yeah? I'm very confident of that. How can you be so sure? Just from other progress and other results we've had before, I'm pretty sure that's how it's working out this time.
What is really in my water?
Everything's fine. The experiment was a success.
The vaccine worked perfectly.
Vaccine?
You feel fine, don't you? Not thirsty or anything.
I don't understand.
All right. Well, here's your money.
Here's your money. There you go. It was a pleasure doing business with you.